So we just cited verse number 26, 324, 26. So please hear the translation purport. Translation purport be given to Prabhupada ki jai. When Kardamamuni understood that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the chief of all the demigods, Vishnu, has descended, Kardama approached him in a secluded place, offered obeisances, and spoke as follows. Lord Vishnu is called Triyuga. He appears in three yugas, Satya, Treta, and Dwapara. But in Kali Yuga, he does not appear. From the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj, however, we understand that he appears garbed as a devotee in Kali Yuga. And Lord Chaitanya is that devotee. Krishna appeared in the form of a devotee. But although he never disclosed himself, right? So Rupa Goswami could understand his identity. For the Lord cannot hide himself from a pure devotee. Rupa Goswami detected him when he offered his first obeisances to Lord Chaitanya. He knew that Lord Chaitanya was Krishna himself, and therefore offered his obeisances with the following words. I offer my respects to Krishna, who has now appeared as Lord Chaitanya. This is also confirmed in the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj. In Kali Yuga, it does not directly appear, but appears as a devotee. Vishnu is therefore known as Tri Yuga. Another explanation of Tri Yuga is that he has three pairs of divine attributes, namely power and affluence, piety and renown, and wisdom and dispassion. According to Sridhara Swami, his three pairs of opulences are complete riches and complete strength, complete fame and complete beauty, and complete wisdom and complete renunciation. So there are different interpretations of Triyuga, but it is accepted by all learned scholars and Triyuga that Triyuga means Vishnu. So when Kardama Muni understood that his son Kapila was Vishnu himself, he wanted to offer his obeisances. Therefore, when Kapila was alone, he offered his respects and expressed his mind as follows. So from 27, Kardama Muni starts. Om Agyantabra Andasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Sapadadikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagar Jatam Sagana Raghunatamitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Saudutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagananita Shri Vishaka Vitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosade Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yonta Pravishya Mavachi Ma Prasuptam Sanjeevayati Akila Shakti Dharasvadamna Anyam Chahasta Charana Shravanatvagadi Prana Namo Bhagavate Purushaya Tuvyam Welcome Karoti Vacha Pangam Nagati No, so Hare Krishna Prabhu's Matajis, welcome all of you for this Srimad Bhagavatam session on Saturday. And today is 13th of April 2024. So this is a very nice chapter. This chapter is entitled The Renunciation of Kardama Muni. See, the Lord, he appeared in the womb of Devahuti, just to explain the complete state of knowledge known as Sankhya Yoga. So in Bhagavad Gita 15th chapter, it is stated that the Lord himself is the compiler of the Vedanta Sutra and is the perfect knower of the Vedanta Sutra. Similarly, the Sankhya philosophy is compiled by Supreme Personality of Godhead in his appearance as Kapila. See, the Lord is always the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although he appeared as the son of Kardama Muni. So, see now the 27th, now from 27th verse, Kardama Muni, he starts speaking. Oh, after a long time, the demigods of the universe have become pleased with the suffering souls who are in material entanglement because of their own misdeeds. In fact, the purport itself is so clear. I'll just read out. This material world is a place for suffering. This material world is a place for suffering, which is due to the misdeeds of the inhabitants, the conditioned souls themselves. The sufferings are not externally imposed upon them, not from outside. Rather, conditioned souls create their own suffering. How? By their own acts. And Prabhupada gives example in the forest, fire takes place automatically. It is not that someone has to go there and set fire because of friction among various trees. Then the fire occurs automatically. So when there is, so the point is when there is too much heat, from the forest fire of this middle world, the demigods, including Brahma himself, being harassed, they approach the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and appeal to him to alleviate this condition for them. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he descends. So in other words, when the demigods become distressed by the sufferings of the conditioned souls, they approach the Lord to remedy the suffering. And the Personality of Godhead descends. So when the Lord descends, all the demigods become enlivened. So therefore, Kadamamuni said, after many, many years of human suffering, all the demigods are now satisfied because Kapil Deva, the incarnation of Godhead, has appeared. 28th verse. Bahu Janma Vipakvena Samyak Yoga Samadhina Drashtum Yatante Yatayaha Shunya Gareshu Yat Padam. After many births, mature yogis, the complete trance in yoga, endeavor in secluded places to see the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. See, some important things are mentioned here about yoga. The word Bahujanma Vipakvena means after many, many births of mature yoga practice. This is very important to understand. Many, many births of mature yoga practice. And another word, Samyak Yoga Samadhina, means the complete practice of the yoga system. So, complete practice of yoga means Bhakti Yoga. So, unless, just hold on, I will just mute everybody. So, unless one comes to the point of Bhakti Yoga or surrender to Supreme Personality of Godhead, one's yoga practice is not complete. And this same point is corroborated in Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Bahunam Janmana Manti. After many, many births, the Jnani, who was matured in transcendental knowledge, surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Kadama Muni repeats the same statement. After many, many years and many, many births of complete practice of yoga, one can see the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord in a secluded place. It is not that after one practices some sitting postures, he immediately becomes perfect. One has to perform yoga a long time. Many, many births. Long time is many, many births to become mature. And a yogi has to practice in a secluded place. The purpose is one cannot practice yoga in a city or in a public park and declare that he has become God simply by some exchange of dollars. This is all bogus propaganda. Those who are actually yogis practice in a secluded place, and after many, many births, they become successful, provided they surrender unto Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is, those who are actually yogis practice in secluded place, and after many, many births, they become successful, provided they surrender unto Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the completion of yoga. So 29 is Saeva Bhagavan Adya Helanam na Ganaya Griheshu Jato Gramyanam Yaswanam Paksha Oshanaha. Not considering the negligence of ordinary householders like us, that very same personality of Godhead appears in our homes just to support his devotees. See, in this chapter, third canto, 24th chapter, we find that when Kadamoni realizes that Lord Kapila has appeared as his son, as in his house, he approaches the Lord in seclusion and offers beautiful prayers unto his lotus feet. So this 29th verse is very beautiful, right? So the word helanam in this verse means negligence. Gramyana means ordinary householder. Now Kardamamuni was a great devotee of the Lord, who by performing penance for 10,000 years, he could please the Lord. But he very humbly considers himself as an ordinary householder and thanks the Lord for appearing in their house. See, if we introspect ourselves, we realize that this verse is very much applicable to for our people like us. We may not be qualified for getting the Lord as our son, May not, but by causeless mercy of Guru and Srila Prabhupada, the Lord has appeared in all our households in the form of his deity, holy names, his words like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Correct, no? So this way, the point is the way we behave in front of the deities, okay, the inattentive ways in which we chant the holy names, the careless attitude towards the study of scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, which are non different from the Lord. These are the different ways which we are doing helanam or negligence. But Krishna kindly forgives and forgets our negligence and eagerly waits for us to turn our attention towards him. So, how is it possible for the Lord to do this? Looking at the negligence of these people, of the people who are trying to be in devotional service, it is because of his nature, the Lord's nature, Swanam Paksha Oshanaha, to support his devotees. So, Prabhupada very nicely mentions in the purport, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as Bhakta Vatsala. He is never described as Jnani Vatsala or Yogi Vatsala. He is always described as Bhakta Vatsala because he is more inclined towards these devotees than towards other transcendentalists. See, a parent, he never disowns their children, even if children neglects them. So Krishna being our supreme Lord, parent, supreme parent, he never forsakes us. And out of his causeless mercy, appeared in our homes. So remembering the different ways in which we neglect the Lord, not follow his instructions, etc., and his causeless mercy in providing essentials, he is giving essentials like life, like air, water, food, to even to the atheists, who question his very existence, right? So we should develop the nature of forgiving and forgetting the offense of others. We should follow the nature of the Supreme Lord. See, as it is discussed in Bhagavatam 5:89, our only prayer should be that we are not bogged down by the negligence of others. Don't worry about others. What they wo kya bolega? What will if I say? What will if I do like this? Others will say like this. Don't get bogged down, but simply pray for the spiritual well-being of all and try to be fixed in serving the Lord. So 589 is a beautiful word. Swastyastu vishwasya kala prasidatam dhyayantu bhutani shivam mito dhiya manascha bhadram bhajata dadokshaje aveshatam no madirapyahituki. Translation is by the Prabhupada. May there be good fortune throughout the universe, and may all envious persons be pacified. May all living entities become calm by practicing Bhakti Yoga. For by accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. Therefore, let us all engage in the service to Supreme Transcendence, Lord Shri Krishna, and always remain absorbed in thought of Him. That's why I just share the screen for the 30 and 32 other beautiful verses there. See, 30th verse, Karmuni is telling, you, my dear Lord, you are always increasing the honor of your devotees. I have descended in my home just to fulfill your word and disseminate the process of real knowledge. Now, purport, Rupa says, when the Lord appeared before Kadama Muni after his mature yoga practice, he promised that he would become Kadama's son. So he descended as the son of Kadama Muni in order to fulfill that promise. Krishna, whatever he promises, he does it. So another purpose of his appearance is Chikirshur Bhagavan Jnanam, to distribute knowledge. Therefore, he is called Bhaktana Mana Vardhanaha, he who increases the honor of his devotees. So by distributing Sankhya, he would increase the honor of the devotees. Therefore, Sankhya philosophy is not dry mental speculation. Sankhya philosophy means devotional service. Sankhya philosophy means devotional service. So how could the honor of the devotees be increased unless Sankhya were meant for devotional service? Devotees are not interested in speculative knowledge. Therefore, the Sankhya enunciated by Kapila Muni is meant to establish one firmly in devotional service. So real knowledge and real liberation is to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engage in devotional service. So what is real knowledge, real liberation is to surrender to Supreme Personality of Godhead and engage in devotional service. In verse now 31, he says, Kadumari, my dear Lord, although you have no material form, you have your own innumerable forms. They truly are your transcendental forms, which are pleasing to your devotees. The purport, see, purport, most of the purports are very self-explanatory, but wherever it is, some explanation has been, I'll be giving. See, in the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that Lord is one, absolute, one absolute. But he is Ananta, or innumerable forms. Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadi, Ananta Rupam. So Lord is the original form, but still he has multi-forms. Those multi-forms are manifested by him transcendentally, according to the tastes of his multi-devotees. It is understood that once Hanuman, the great devotee of Lord Ramachandra, said that he knew that Narayana, the husband of Lakshmi, and Rama, the husband of Sita, are one and the same. And there is no difference between Lakshmi and Sita. But as for himself, he liked the form of Lord Rama. So in a similar way, some devotees worship the original form of Krishna. So what we say Krishna, we refer to all forms of the Lord, not only Krishna, but Rama, Narsimha, Varaha, Narayana, etc. So the varieties of transcendental forms exist simultaneously. That is also stated in Brahma Samhita. Rama Mutishu, Nana Avataram. He only exists in multi forms. But none of the forms are material. See, Krishna has so many forms, but none of them are material. Even the deities in the temple and the Vigraha which bring home with Pranapatishtha and all. So nothing is material. So Srila Swami has commented that Arupinaha, without form, means without material form. Lord has form. Otherwise, how can it be stated here? Tanyevate abhirupani rupani bhagavams tava. You have your forms, but they are not material. Material, you have no form, but spiritually, transcendently, you have multi-forms. So Maya, the philosophers cannot understand these transcendental forms of the Lord. And being disappointed, they say that the Supreme Lord is impersonal. Purpose is being disappointed, right? But that is not a fact. Whenever there is form, there is a person. So many times in many Vedic literature, the Lord is described as Purusha. Purusha is enjoyer, which means the original form, the original enjoyer. So the conclusion is that Lord has no material form, and yet, according to the liking of different grades of devotees, he simultaneously exists in multi-forms such as Rama, Nrsimha, Varaha, Narayana, and Buddha. So there are many thousands and thousands of forms, but they're all Vishnu Tattva, Krishna. This is another beautiful verse. Tvam Shuribistatva Bhuvutsayadha Sada Vivadharhana Padapitham Aishwarya Vairagya Yashovabodha Virya Shriya Purtamaham Prapadye. My dear Lord, your lotus feet are the reservoir that always deserves to receive worshipful homage from all great sages, eager to understand the absolute truth. You are full in opulence, renunciation, transcendental fame, knowledge, strength, and beauty, and therefore I surrender myself unto your lotus feet. See, Bhagavan, the word is Bhaga means correction of the six glorious opulences. And Van means one who possesses. You know, a person who possesses wealth, Dhana, is called Dhanavan. One who possesses Vidya, knowledge, is called Vidwan. Similarly, one who possesses Bhaga is called Bhagavan. Now, Parashara Muni defines what is meant by Bhaga in the shloka in Vishnu Purana. Aishwaryas, Aishwaryasya samagrasya Viryasya yashasa shriyaha Jnana vairagya Shannam Shannam Bhaga itirana. The six glorious opulences, namely wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation, all in fullness, unlimited measure, are designated by the word Bhaga. So the word Bhagavan denotes a person who possesses all the six opulences in full measure. So the statement of Parashara Muni is beautifully confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam in the verse 3.34, 32, this next word, that is 32nd verse, where Kadamuni says, my dear Lord, your lotus feet are the reservoir of all that always deserves to receive worship, homage. So it is stated that all the great sages who are interested in the absolute truth, no, they worship the Lord's lotus feet continuously, incessantly, without any break, unmotivated, uninterrupted. So these sages are not attracted to any of the occurrences of this material world, nor are they attracted to the people who possess any of the occurrences. Then why they are attracted to Supreme Lord, who is full in all opulences? Why they are attracted? The reason for this is that the opulences of the Lord is much different from the opulences of the living beings in the following ways. I'll give you the example. Number one, we can see two words, Samagrasya in Vishnu Puran and Purtam in Bhagavatam, are used with reference to Lord's opulences. So these words mean fullness. Fullness or infinite. Fullness means no more thing, addition is required in that one. That is fullness. See, when we say a glass is full of water, it means no additional water is required. In this way, all opulences are present in full measure, and the Lord is fully perfect. He doesn't have anything to want, no wants, and he is fully satisfied in himself. Atma Rama. The second point, we see in this world that some people are endowed with exceptional knowledge, maybe in science, mathematics, arts, music. Some people have exceptional beauty, some with physical strength, and some with great influence, like that. But we cannot see a single person who is endowed with all opulences. Even if he's endowed with all opulences, they are not infinite, they are finite measure, and hence they always try to increase it. Correct? And they are not fully satisfied like Krishna. Number three, the opulences of the living entities, both conditional and liberated also, are not their own. They are bestowed by the Lord either because of their karma, in case of conditional living entities, or because of the Lord's grace, in the case of liberated souls in Vaikuntha. Whereas the Lord's opulences are his own. He does not acquire from anyone. He does not go to a training seminar or something, nothing. So he is Nija Labha Purna. Bhagavatam 8:23 states, Avyabhichari Shad Gunair Varam Nija Eka Ashrayataya Aguna Ashrayam. He possesses all transcendental qualities without depending on others. Number four, the Lord's opulences are transcendental and they are not tainted by the modes of nature. Also, they are not distorted by time factor. And number five, one of the opulences of the Lord is renunciation. He is detached from both material and spiritual worlds since he is fully independent. Swarat. So great sages who are fully renounced are attracted to him. See, one instance of the Lord's renunciation is displayed in the episode of the churning of milk ocean when Mother Lakshmi appeared. See, everyone was attracted to Mother Lakshmi, but she garlanded the Lord, was in full in all perfections, and who remained neutral to her. So Prabhupada explains in the purport, actually, those who are searching after the absolute truth must take shelter of the lotus feet of Supreme Personality Godhead and worship Him. Why is it so? Because the Lord is always full in six opulences. As it is mentioned, wealth, renunciation, fame, knowledge, strength, and beauty. The word Purtam means in full. So no one can claim that all wealth belongs to him. But Krishna can claim it since he has full wealth. So similarly, he is in full knowledge, renunciation, strength, beauty. So he is full in everything. And no one can surpass him. Another one of Krishna's names is Asamardha, which means that no one is equal to or greater than him. So when we follow in the footsteps of the great sages and develop attraction to the Lord, we can attain him and become satisfied forever. See, share the other 33rd verse, right? Another beautiful verse. Param pradhanam purusham mahantam kalam kavim trivratam lokapalam Atmanubhutyánugata prapancham swachanda shaktim kapilam prapadye. I surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, descended in the form of Kapila, who is independently powerful and transcendental, who is the Supreme Person and the Lord of the sum total of matter and the element of time, who is the fully cognizant maintainer of all the universes under the three modes of material nature, and who absorbs the material manifestation after their dissolution. So again, the six opulences are being given here, and which we just discussed, right? So go to the 34th verse. Here, the translation says, "Today I have something to ask from you." Kaduma is telling, "Who are the Lord of all living entities. Since I have now been liberated by you from my debts to my father, and since all my desires are fulfilled, I wish to accept the order of an itinerant mendicant." That means sannyasi. So renouncing this family life, I wish to wander about, free from lamentation, thinking always of you in my heart. This purport is worth meditating. Please hear. See, actually, sannyasa or renunciation of material household life necessitates complete absorption in Krishna consciousness and immersion in the self, but does not take sannyasa, freedom from family responsibility in the renounced order of life, to make another family or to create an embarrassing transcendental fraud in the name of sannyasa. Sannyasi's business is not to become proprietor of so many things and amass money from the innocent public. A sannyasi is proud that he is always thinking of Krishna within himself. Of course, there are two kinds of devotees of the Lord. One is called Goshyanandi, which means those who are preachers and have many followers who are preaching the glories of the Lord, and to live among those many followers just to organize missionary activities. Other devotees are Atmanandi or self-satisfied and do not take the risk of preaching work. They therefore remain alone with God. So in this classification was Kardamamuni. He wanted to be free from all anxieties and remain alone within his heart with the Supreme Personality of God. Parivraja means an itinerant mendicant. So mendicant sannyasi should not live anywhere for more than 3 days. He must be always moving because his duty is to move from door to door and enlighten people about Krishna consciousness. Now, the next 5 verses, very important, 35 to 40, because it is spoken by the Lord, Kapila Muni. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Proktam Hilokasya Pramanam Satya Laukike Atajani Maya Tubhyam Yadavocham Mritam Mune. The personality of God, Kapila, said, "Whatever I speak, whether directly or in the scriptures, is authoritative in all respects for the people of the world. Oh, many, because I told you before that I would become your son, I have descended to fulfill this truth." See, Kardamamuni, now please hear the purport. Kardamamuni was to leave his family life to completely engage in the service of the Lord. But since he knew the Lord himself, as Kapila, had taken birth in his home as his own son, why was he preparing to leave home to search out self-realization or God-realization? Very interesting question, right? God is now coming to his home. Why should he go out in search of the Lord? God himself was present in his home. So why should he leave home? Such a question may certainly arise. But here it is said that whatever is spoken in the Vedas and whatever is practiced in accordance with the injunctions of the Vedas is to be accepted as an authoritative in society. Vedic authority says that a householder must leave home after his 50th year. Pancha Shordhvam Vanam Vrajet. One must leave his family life and enter the forest after the age of 50. This is an authoritative statement of the Vedas, based on the division of social life into 4 departments of activity: Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa. So everybody will be very, oh, after 50, we should all go to the forest. Kardama Muni practiced yoga very rigidly as a brahmachari before his marriage. And he became so powerful and attained so much mystic power that his father Brahma ordered him to marry and beget children as a householder. So he immediately accepted his father's instruction. Kadama did that also. He begot 9 good daughters and one son. So Kapila Muni, that is Kapila Muni, right? His son. And thus his household duty was also performed nicely. And now his duty was to leave. So he always got all his 9 daughters married. Now he has Kapila Muni as his son, the Lord. So even though he had the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his son, he had to respect the authority of the Vedas. This is a very important lesson. Even if one has God in his home as his son, one should still follow the Vedic injunctions. It is stated, Mahajano yena gataha sa pantaha. One should traverse the path which is followed by great personalities. Now, Kardama Muni's example is very instructive. But in spite of having the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his son, he left home just to obey the authority of the Vedic injunction. Now, Kardama Muni states here that the main purpose of his leaving home, while traveling all over the world as a mendicant, he would always remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart and thereby be freed from all anxieties of material existence. So even when we have the Lord in our heart, no, He's always there. To always meditate, always think of, then automatically the anxieties, material existence will always be removed. So in this age of Kali Yuga, sannyasa is prohibited because persons in this age are all Shudras and cannot follow the rules and regulations of sannyasa life. So don't worry about that. You to leave. Right? We very commonly found that so-called sannyasis are addicted to nonsense, even to having private relationships with women. So this is an abominable situation in this age. Although they dress themselves as sannyasis, they still cannot free themselves from the 4 principles of sinful life, namely illicit sex life, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. Since they are not freed from these 4 principles, they are cheating the public by posing as swamis. You can see all around, no, so many different swamis and cheating propensities. This is one of the imperfections. So in Kali Yuga, the injunction is that no one should accept sannyasa. Of course, Prabhupada gives again an example. Of course, those who actually follow the rules and regulations must take sannyasa. Very sincere and seriously following. So generally, however, people are unable to accept sannyasa life. And therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stressed, Kalau nastyeva, nastyeva, nastyeva gati ranyatha. In this age, there is no other alternative, no other alternative, no other alternative than to chant the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. So the main purpose of sannyasa life is to be in constant companionship with the Supreme Lord, either by thinking of Him within the heart or hearing Him through oral reception. So we are all hearing. Actually, we are sannyasis. Means we are totally away from all the other inabilities at the moment, at least during this 1 hour. So in this age, hearing is more important than thinking because one's thinking may be disturbed by mental agitation. But if it concentrates on hearing, you'll be forced to associate with the sound vibration of Krishna. So we are all hearing Bhagavatam. So this is sound vibration of Krishna. So we're hearing very in rapt attention. So we're completely in absorption. So Krishna and the sound vibration of Krishna are non-different. So if one loudly vibrates Hare Krishna, you'll be able to think of Krishna immediately. So this process of chanting is the best process of self-realization in this age. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya preached it so nicely for the benefit of all humanity. So in the next verse, the Lord says, Etan me janma lokesmin mumukshunam durashayat prasankhyanaya tattvanam sammatayatma darshane. My appearance in this world is especially to explain the philosophy of Sankhya. So Kapila Muni is appeared to explain the philosophy of Sankhya, which is highly esteemed for self-realization by those desiring freedom from the entanglement of unnecessary material desires. Now the purport. Here the word durashaya is very significant. Dur refers to trouble or dukkha, miseries. Ashayat means from the shelter. Just sorry. So we conditioned souls have taken shelter of the material body, which is full of troubles and miseries. Now, foolish people cannot understand the situation. This is called ignorance, illusion, or the spell of Maya. Human society should very seriously understand that the body itself is the source of all miserable life. We are giving everything, all attention to the body only, but food for the body only. Chapati, rice, and everything, all this, only the body. But what is the food for the soul? That is hearing Bhagavatam, chanting. That is more important. But modern civilization is supposed to be making advancement in scientific knowledge. But what is the scientific knowledge? It is based on bodily comforts only, without knowledge that however comfortably one maintains his body, the body is destructible. So, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, Antavanta ime dehaha. These bodies are destined to be destroyed. Nitya Syoktaha Shariranaha refers to the living soul or the living spark within the body. And that soul is eternal. But the body is not eternal. See, for our activity, we must have a body. Without a body, without sense organs, there is no activity. But people are not inquiring whether it is possible to have an eternal body. Actually, they aspire for an eternal body. We actually want permanence in this body itself. Right? Because even though they engage in sense enjoyment, that sense enjoyment is not eternal, right? So they are therefore in want of something which they can enjoy eternally. But they do not understand how to attain that perfection. So Sankhya philosophy, therefore, as stated here by Kapila Deva, is Tattvana. The Sankhya philosophy system is designed to afford understanding of the real truth. What is that real truth? The real truth is knowledge of how to get out of the material body, which is the source of all trouble. So, what is that real truth? Real truth is knowledge of how to get out of this material body, which is the source of all trouble. The Lord Kapila's incarnation or descent is especially meant for this purpose. And this is clearly stated here. So, each verse, these 5 verses are very wonderful. Now, it goes to 37th verse. Yesha atmapatho abhyakto nashtakalena bhuyasa tam pravartayatum deham imam vidhi maya vritam. This path of self-realization, which is difficult to understand, has now been lost in the course of time. Please know that I have assumed this body of Kapila to introduce and explain this philosophy to human society. It is not true, purport is there, Prabhu. It is not true that Sankhya philosophy is a new system of philosophy. Don't think that only when Kapila started, it's a new one. Introduced by Kapila as material philosophers introduced new kinds of mental speculative thoughts to supersede that of another philosopher, right? See, on the material platform, everyone, especially the mental speculator, tries to be more prominent than others. The field of activity of speculators is the mind. See, there is no limit to the different ways in which one can agitate the mind. Any way we can agitate. Unlimited number of theories. So Sankhya philosophy is not like that. It is not mental speculation. It is factual. But at the time of Kapila, it was lost. See, in due course of time, a particular type of knowledge may be lost or may be covered for the time being. And that is the nature of this material world. This reminds us, no? Prabhupada says, a similar statement was made by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Sakale neha mahata yogo nashtaha. In course of time, the yoga system as stated in Bhagavad Gita was lost. Because he spoke this to this sun god, right? Vivaswan. Later on again, he spoke to Arjuna. Same way, it was coming in parampara, in discipline succession. But due to the passage of time, it was lost. So the time factor is so pressing that in course of time, everything within this middle world is spoiled or lost. So the yoga system of Bhagavad Gita was lost before the meeting of Krishna and Arjuna. Therefore, Krishna again initiated the same ancient yoga system to Arjuna, who could actually understand Bhagavad Gita. Similarly, Kapila also said that the system of Sankhya philosophy was not exactly being introduced by him. It was already there, current. But in course of time, it was mysteriously lost. Therefore, he appeared to reintroduce it. So that is the purpose of the incarnation of God. Yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata. Dharma means the real occupation of the living entity. When there is a discrepancy in the eternal occupation of the living entity, the Lord comes and introduces the real occupation of life. So any so-called religious system that is not in line of devotional service is called adharma samsthapana. So when people forget their eternal relationship with God and engage in something other than devotional service, Their engagement is called irreligion. So how one can get out of the miserable condition of material life is stated in Sankhya philosophy. And the Lord himself is explaining this sublime system. 38th verse. Gaccha kamam maya prishto mayi sanyasta karmana jitva sudurjayam mrityum amritatvaya mam bhaja. Now being sanctioned by me, go as you desire, surrendering all your activities to me, conquering insurmountable death, worship me for eternal life. Now here in this verse, the purpose of Sankhya is given. If anyone wants real eternal life, everybody wants to know, not any permanent life. He has to engage himself in devotional service or Krishna consciousness. To become free from birth and death is not an easy task. Birth and death are natural to this material body. Sudur Jayam means very, very difficult to overcome. So the modern so-called scientists do not have sufficient means to understand the process of victory over birth and death. Therefore, they set aside the question of birth and death. They do not consider it because they cannot understand. So they simply engage in the problems of material body, which is transient and sure to end. Actually, human life is meant for conquering the insurmountable process of birth and death. And that can be done as stated here. Mam Bhaja. He says, Mam Bhaja. One must engage in devotional service of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna says, the Lord says, Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakta. Just become my devotee. Just worship me. But foolish so-called scholars, they say that it is not Krishna whom you must worship or to whom you must surrender. It is something else. Without Krishna's mercy, therefore, no one can understand the Sankhya philosophy or any philosophy which is especially meant for liberation. Vedic knowledge confirms that one becomes entangled in this material life because of ignorance. And that one can become free from material embarrassment by becoming situated in factual knowledge. And Sankhya means that factual knowledge by which one can get out of the material entanglement. In the 39th verse, Kapila Muni says, Mam Atmanam Swayam Jyotihi Sarvabhuta Guhashayam Atmanyevatmana Vikshya Vishoko Bhayam Richasi. In your own heart, through your intellect, you will always see me, the supreme self-effulgent soul dwelling within the hearts of all living entities. Thus, you will achieve the state of eternal life, free from all lamentations and fear. This lamentation and fear, these are the two things. We are always, anything, before we have this fear and we have this lamentation. People are very anxious to understand the absolute truth in various ways, especially by experiencing the Brahmajyoti or Brahman effulgence, by meditation and by mental speculation. But Kapil Deva uses the word Mam to emphasize that the personality of Godhead is the ultimate feature of the absolute truth. We know this, no? The example, sun, the sunshine, and the sun globe. So in Bhagavad Gita, personality of Godhead always says, Mam, unto me. But the rascals misinterpret the clear meaning. Mam is the supreme personality of Godhead. If one can see the supreme personality of Godhead as he appears in different incarnations and understand that he has not assumed a material body, but is present in his own eternal spiritual form, then one can understand the nature of the personality of Godhead. Now, since the less intelligent cannot understand this point, it is stressed everywhere again and again. Simply by seeing the form of the Lord, no, as he presents himself, by his own internal potence as Krishna or Rama or Kapila, one can directly see the Brahmajyoti because Brahmajyoti is no more than the effulgence of his bodily luster. Now, since the sunshine is the luster of the sun planet, by seeing the sun, one automatically sees the sunshine. Similarly, by seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one simultaneously sees and experiences the Paramatma feature as well as the impersonal Brahman feature of the Supreme. So, Bhagavatam has already initiated that the Absolute Truth is present in three features. In the beginning, as the impersonal Brahman, the next stage as the Paramatma in everyone's heart, and at last as the ultimate realization of the Absolute Truth, Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, one who sees the Supreme Person can automatically realize the other features, namely the Paramatma and the Brahman features of the Lord. So, the words used here are Vishoka Habhayam Rachasi. Simply by seeing the personality of God, one realizes everything. And the result is that one becomes situated on the platform where there is no lamentation and no fear. This can be attained simply by devotional service to the personality of God. See, the moment we come for a program, these two things, are left out. We know there is no lamentation, there is no fear. We don't have any lamentation now. We're not lamenting for anything which we lost or nothing of that sort, right? So, of course, the fourth, the fifth, the last verse of the Lord. Matra adhyatmikim vidyam shamanim sarva karmanam vidarishe yaya chasau bhayam chati tarishyati. I shall also describe this sublime knowledge, which is the door to spiritual life, to my mother, Devahuti, so that she also can attain perfection and self-realization, ending all reactions to fruitive activities. Thus, she will also be freed from all material fear. So, hearing the Sankhya philosophy, Kapil Muni's instructions, we can also be freed from all the material fears. The purport, Karnamani was anxious about his good wife, Devahuti, while leaving home. See, this is another important point to understand. Please hear the purport very carefully. Kardamoni was anxious about his good wife, Devahuti, while leaving home. And so the worthy son promised that not only would Kardamoni be freed from material entanglement, but Devahuti would also be freed by receiving instruction from her son. A very good example is set here. The husband goes away, taking the sannyas order for self-realization. But his representative, the son, who is equally educated, remains at home to deliver the mother. The sannyasi is not supposed to take his wife with him. At the Vanaprastha stage of retired life, or the stage midway between householder life and nurse life, one may keep his wife as an assistant without sex relations. But in the sannyasa order of life, one cannot keep his wife with him. Otherwise, a person like Kadumuni could have kept his wife with him, and there would have been no hindrance to his prosecution of self-realization because already he was very elevated. Now, Kadumuni followed the Vedic injunction that no one in sannyasa life can have any kind of relationship with women. So, what is the position of a woman who is left by her husband? She is entrusted to the son. And the son promises that he will deliver his mother from entanglement. A woman is not supposed to take sannyasa. So-called spiritual societies concocted in modern times give sannyasa even to women. Although there is no sanction in the Vedic literature for a woman's accepting sannyasa. Otherwise, if it were sanctioned, Kadama Muni could have taken his wife and given her sannyasa. The woman must remain at home. She has only three stages of life: dependency on the father in childhood, dependency on the husband in youth, and in old age, dependency on the grown-up son, such as Kapila. So in old age, the progress of woman depends on the grown-up son. So ideal son, Kapila Muni, is assuring his father of the deliverance of his mother so that his father may go peacefully without anxiety for his good wife. Jai Shri Prabhupada, translate purports ki jai. This is very important for all us to understand. This good points. See in the 41st verse. Now here Maitreya Muni started speaking. Thus, when Kadam Muni, the progenitor of human society, was spoken to in fullness by his son Kapila, he circumambulated him, and with a good pacified mind, he at once left for the forest. Now, this is another important point, going to the forest. See, Prabhupada says in the purport, going to the forest is compulsory for everyone. It is not a mental excursion upon which one person goes and another does not. Everyone should go to the forest at least as a vanaprastha. Now, to go to the forest does not mean to become a monkey or a ferocious animal. It means to accept exclusively the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engage oneself in full service. See, one does not actually have to go to the forest. And at the present moment, this is not at all advisable for a man who has spent his life all along in cities, big cities. As explained by Prahlad Maharaj, one should not remain always engaged in the responsibilities of family life because family life without Krishna consciousness is just like a blind well. But if we don't think associating with pure devotees and renunciation of sense enjoyment is important, by the influence of Maya, we are quickly again thrown out into the ocean of material, sensual, so-called bliss. We are helplessly floating in the waves, right? Forgetting to prioritize our spiritual life. So there are unlimited conditioned souls who are bereft of Krishna's service. not knowing how to cross the ocean of nescience. No, they are scattered by the waves of time and tide. However, Prabhupada says some are fortunate to contact devotees. And by this contact, they are delivered from the ocean of nescience. Just as a log floating down a river accidentally washes upon the bank. Right? So let us therefore optimistically endeavor to follow the path of pure devotees like Akrura, who prays, because I am so fallen, I shall never get a chance to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Akrura is praying. So this was my false apprehension. Rather, by chance, a person as fallen as I am may get to see this Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because when Kamsa told him to go and bring like Krishna and Balram from Vrindavan, right? So when going, he was praying. So although one is being carried away by the waves of the river of time, one may eventually reach the shore. See, in the 42nd verse, Maitrimuni, while describing the renunciation of Kardamuni, says, Vratam sa astito maunam atmaika sharano munihi sango vicharat kshonim alagnir aniketana. The sage Kardama accepted silence as a vow in order to think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and take shelter of him exclusively. Without association, he traveled all over the surface of the globe as a sannyasi, devoid of any relationship with fire or shelter. See, the word Vratam means vow. In one of his classes, my Guru Maharaj, he said, vow means practice. Mere knowledge is mental concoction. Only when we practice, things become practical. See, practice is hidden in the word practical. See, our scriptures say, Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava. So we should respect our elders and parents. And if we don't respect them, then there is no use in simply knowing the scriptural injunctions. See, many a times, our circumstances will force us to break the vow. So in such situations, the soul of the principle must not be killed, but outward things must be adjusted. See, we should not be fanatics. At the same time, we should not encourage lethargy as well. See, Prabhupada very nicely defines what is vratam in his purport in this verse. Vratam means that one should take a vow as explained in Bhagavad Gita. Amanitvam madam bhitvam. Without hankering for personal respect and without being proud of one's material position. So this is a very important point to remember. He says, without hankering for personal respect and without being proud of one's material position. Now, just because we are undergoing some vratam, we must not consider ourselves greater than others and should not expect others to respect us. This is what we think, no? I am doing Ekadashi, yeah, Nirjala Ekadashi, I'm doing. So we consider us greater than others who are not doing. And we expect others. And we will tell them also. So observing Mauna Vrita is not for fashion. Here we stop talking about silence, no? Nowadays we find politicians doing Mauna Vrita, fasting from food, etc. So their motive is to undergo such vows for increasing their name and fame. We should understand the underlying principle of vow is to practice and thereby regulate our lives and please the Supreme Personality of God. So in case of Kadamamuni, he took silence as a vow. So Prabhupada very nicely says, unless one becomes silent, he cannot think completely about the pastimes and activities of the Lord. Unless one becomes silent, he cannot think completely about the pastimes and activities of the Lord. Actually, you cannot hear the katha and all unless you become silent. No, that means removing all the other inabilities, all other attractions. So it is not because one is a fool and cannot speak nicely, he therefore takes the vow of Mauna. Rather, one becomes silent so that people will not disturb him. So it is said by Chanakya Pandita that a rascal appears very intelligent as long as he does not speak. But speaking is the test. So silence means we completely wind up ourselves. Silence means, my Guru Maharaj says, silence means we completely wind up ourselves from useless talks. Then only Krishna is talking, that itself is silence. Instead of wasting time in engaging useless topics, we simply engage ourselves in glorifying the Lord. That is the real Vrata. So Kardomuni, after accepting Maunurta, I traveled all over the globe without any relationship with fire or shelter. See, the word Anagni in the verse means without fire, and Aniketana means without shelter. So in the purport, Prabhupada very nicely describes how sannyasi should lead his life. A sannyasi should completely be discharged from fire and any residential quarters. A grahastha has a relationship with fire, either for offering sacrifices or for cooking. But a sannyasi is freed from these two responsibilities. He does not have to cook or offer fire for sacrifice because he is always engaged in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, he has already accomplished all the ritualistic performance of religion. Aniketana means without lodging. He should not have his own house, but should depend completely on the Supreme Lord for his food and lodging. He should just travel. So, sannyas is not allowed in this Kali Yuga. But at the same time, we cannot do without sannyas. When we are not preaching, that time we must meditate on how to reconcile this point. See, unless we are convinced, we cannot convince others. That's why Bhagavad Gita 18.2, Krishna gives us the answer for this. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Kamyanam Karmanam Nyasam, Sanyasam Kavayo Viduhu, Sarva Karma Phala Tyagam, Prahustyagam Vichakshanaha. The Supreme Personality of God has said, the giving up of activities that are based on material desire is what great learned men call the renounced order of life, sannyasa. And giving up the results of all activities is what the wise call renunciation, tyaga. So, how to develop this renunciant attitude? My Guru Maharaj says that glassware will break only when hit. Only when we hit the glassware, it will be a break. But our body will break just like that. So, everybody must visualize the last day of our life in deathbed. This idea will give the renunciant attitude. Cure of ignorance is visualization of the last day. So, if you visualize the last day, then you will behave as a trustee. So renunciation must be done according to time, place, and circumstances. So renunciation must be in our nature. And renunciation not only in currency. Renunciation can be done in terms of intelligence, time, energy also. So the more we renounce, the more happy we become. Please note this point. The more we renounce, the more happy we become. Otherwise, see, in our materially, we have so many things in our houses, right? When we try shift our house, we can see so many things are not required also. So our mind is so much full kachara. Correct? The more we renounce, go on living, the more we become happy, more peaceful we will be. So we can concentrate more on Krishna consciousness. Then satisfaction comes. More we renounce, the more happy we become, the more then satisfaction comes. And as soon as satisfaction is there, prasannata is there. Prasannata leads to eternity. So by practicing the vows of silence and renunciation, according to time, place, and circumstance, and always performing sincere devotion service unto Krishna, we will be able to lead a peaceful life. A few more verses are there, maybe another 5 minutes are just. But time is also essence. Right? There's a lot, so many verses are there. See, according to the Vedas, the absolute truth is a person with an infinite form of composed of bliss and consciousness. See, the form is eternal, right? Param Brahman is non-material and so cannot be seen by our material senses. So one can understand Param Brahma, the Lord's form, only from Vedic literature, Shabda Brahma. So this is what is very important. Form. The form of the Lord is very, very important to understand. See, the 44th verse, Prabhupada says in the purport, one should become like the ocean. Ocean is filled by many thousands of rivers, and millions of tons of which water evaporates into clouds. Yet the ocean is the same, unagitated ocean. See, the laws of nature may work, but if one is fixed in devotional service at the lotus feet of Krishna, he is not agitated because he is introspective. He does not look outside to material nature, but he looks into the spiritual nature of his existence with a sober mind. He simply engages in the service of the Lord. Therefore, he realizes his own self without false identification with matter and without affection for material possessions. So, such a great devotee is never in trouble with others because he sees everyone from the platform of spiritual understanding. He sees himself and others in the right perspective. So, there's a proverb haste makes waste, whereas slow and steady wins the race. In this race of human birth, our destination and only goal is to reach the lotus feet of Krishna. And in that race, if we keep proceeding with patience and faith and following the instruction of Guru and Shastra, then we are sure to reach the goal. See, in that race, if we keep proceeding with patience and faith, no, we can see on. Otherwise, if we fall prey to anger and agitation, then we are bound to fall and suffer. So when we are satisfied with whatever the Lord blesses us, then we are shanta, peaceful. When we keep on anchoring for more and more, then we'll always be in anxiety. Sometimes we may be working very hard day and night in order to achieve something, correct? At that point, it is important to have a check on ourselves. No, to know whether we are doing it for our need or our greed. To meet basic necessities of life, we have to do our prescribed duties, no doubt. So Krishna confirms the necessity of the same in the whole third chapter of Bhagavad Gita. But when it goes to the extent of affecting our own health and sadhana, then we should not draw a line. There's so many people doing 24 hours duty, traveling, so many troublesome, right? Night duties. So we should draw a line somewhere. We should prioritize ourselves there by how much, by how we can come to Krishna consciousness. So sadhana helps us to associate with Krishna, whereas material hankerings takes us away from Krishna. Sadhana helps us to associate with Krishna, whereas material hankerings takes us away from Krishna. That's why Prabhupada very nicely says in the purport of 4:24:20, a devotee's mind is always calm, quiet, and desireless because he's always anya bilashita shunyam, having no desire other than to serve Krishna as his personal servant, friend, father, mother, or conjugal lover. So due to his association with Krishna, a devotee is always very calm and cool. It is also significant that within that reservoir of all aquatics are also calm. No, in the ocean, no, the aquatic is also very calm and quiet because even like the disciples of devotee have taken shelter of great soul. If they then they become very calm and quiet and are not agitated by the waves of material world. It's also very important for us to understand. The time, so it's another three more verses are there. Maybe I leave it to you to read them. The purpose also. Purpose are very useful to understand. So thank you very much for this, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bo. Hare Krishna. Vancha Kalpatarubicha. Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha. Patitanam Pavanebhyo. Vaishnavi. Anant Kodi Vaishnavi. Hare Krishna. Prabhupada.